All right, Don. What first drew you to architecture, and how did your journey from Sea Ranch to today influence your approach to designing the tasting room at Casino Mine Ranch?
Oh boy. Well, I grew up in central Indiana, which is very flat, and I had an opportunity in sophomore in high school to visit Phoenix in 1957.
Okay.
And I saw for the first time a custom house with plans, and then I saw construction in Phoenix, and I decided I want to be an architect. So I went back and told my mechanical engineering instructor what I wanted to do, and he said, "Oh, well, then I'll start you doing floor plans." So that was the start, and then it was such a small community. We didn't have school counselors, so I had to figure out, well, where am I going to go to school? The only school, architectural school in Indiana, was Notre Dame, and that wasn't an option, private. So I went to the four architects in the nearest town, Muncie, knocked on the door and said, "Where'd you go to school?" and wasn't any good. And I ended up University of Cincinnati. And then um, it's a co-op program, 6 years. And so I worked for Skidmore, and Merrill in Chicago. And when I graduated in 67, they gave me the opportunity to move, to stay there, go to New York City or San Francisco. So I went to San Francisco, and that's what got me to the West Coast.
Okay.
3 years later, when I opened my practice, or I got my license first, and then opened my practice at Sea Ranch.
Okay.
And I was there from 1970 to 1986. And my education was Bauhaus, modernist, and that was underlined by the uh, time I worked in Chicago, because Mies van der Rohe was still alive at the time,
Okay.
and the office was pretty much um, followed his principles.
Okay.
And then that was reinforced when I went to SOM in San Francisco.
Hmm.
And then when I went to Sea Ranch, it was totally different.
Yeah.
It was working with the land, and I was in my 20s. I didn't have a design philosophy
Okay.
that's formulated yet.
Yeah.
So I looked at uh, Charles Moore and Bill Turnbull, the design guidelines, and put all that together, and voila,
Yeah.
that's what happened. And so, uh, what did I learn at Sea Ranch that came to Casino Mine Ranch was basically just working with the land
Okay.
and not coming in and just let's knock something down and build this monument. Let's do
Yeah.
something that complements the landscape.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's what we've achieved right here.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you have him with the design around the majestic oak tree,
Yes.
and then the way the tasting room just kind of just flows almost into the pond in a sense. I really feel like that was achieved.
Well, thank you. And the when it first came on the site,
Yeah.
this was just a gently sloping hillside from the pond up to the tree, and nothing else was around it.
Okay.
So I uh, was had to take the tree into uh, account. I knew it had to be part of the
Yeah.
experience of coming to the tasting room.
Hmm.
And so this S shape that you see here is very similar to the shape of the land from the pond up to
Okay.
the portion here. And of course, we had these other magnificent trees along the pond
Hmm.
and around the site that we could relate to.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Cool. Awesome. What was the original vision behind the Sea Ranch, and how do you see those same values and principles reflected in the design of the Casino Mine Ranch tasting room?
Okay, well, the original principles, which were pretty much established by the founder and visionary Al Boke, an architect who worked for Castle and Cook, division called Oceanic Properties when he discovered the Sea Ranch, and Lawrence Halpern, who was the land planner and landscape architect for Sea Ranch. And that was that the landscape, meaning the ocean, the forest, the meadows, the cypress hedgerows, were all beautiful, and those should dominate.
Okay. Yeah.
It should not be dominated by a structure. And so the guidelines for Sea Ranch were based on that. And I, being a young architect at the time, embraced that. And if you looked at them very closely, you could see that the best building you could design was one that nobody ever saw, because you wanted people to see the landscape. Again, meaning the ocean. And the most dynamic, of course, is the ocean, because it's always crashing waves against the rocks and the shore and everything. So that became my design philosophy, for lack of a better word, and it was enhanced by the design guidelines, which insisted that the exterior of the building be a natural weathering material, and it was redwood or shingles or cedar, and blends in. You can't have exposed bulbs on the outside of the house, the light source. You have to screen the parking. You have to work with the land. You can't just come in and scrape and put a big retaining wall up. So all of those things contributed, I feel, to why Sea Ranch is successful. And as I said, I have maintained that in whatever projects I've done. I left Sea Ranch in 1987, 86, and went to a firm, and then grew it to an international firm. And of course, that was a totally different world than Sea Ranch, and that was fine. That was, like I say, a different world, and whether it's Asia or Middle East, which I spent a lot of time in. But when I decided to semi-retire in 2017, I decided, what did I like best? Well, it was dealing with individuals on a private house, or with Jim on Casino Mine Ranch. I find a lot more satisfaction doing that than managing other people who get to do the fun part, the design part. And so that's what I've done since 2017, is work with individuals. And interestingly enough, at Sea Ranch, houses I designed 50 years ago, 40 years ago, those owners have passed the house on through sale or inheritance to other people, and 2 to 3 owners, and those people have come back to me and said, we want you to restore it to what it was when you originally designed it, because this has been done, that's been done, and it doesn't really fit. I've had fun doing that. I have about 4 of them I'm working on now, enough to keep me busy. So anyway, that's the story on Sea Ranch, which I'm going to expound more about this evening on our talk.
Awesome. Okay, great.